Recently, the world has been hit by the COVID-19 pandemic, and it caused a huge number of cases reported daily and the spike of death tolls due to the virus around the world. A pandemic is defined as an epidemic occurring worldwide or over a very wide area, crossing international boundaries and usually affecting a large number of people. The COVID-19 pandemic has been going on for almost a year, and the first case was found back in 19 December 2019 in Wuhan, China. WHO declared the outbreak of the virus as the number of cases of infected people has increased immediately, and the pandemic was declared in March 2020. In Malaysia, the pandemic that ever happened was involving the influenza A virus subtype H1N1, which is a part of the flu. Malaysia had reported thousands of cases that began from imported cases from United States and Australia. The federal government has declared a national health emergency outbreak to curb the number of cases since the first death due to H1N1 was reported on 21 August 2009. The outbreak was announced to tackle the spread of the virus, and the government has imposed a few regulations that's similar to the current Movement Control Order (MCO), which is known as the pandemic law, and people are not allowed to go out and just to stay at home to curb the number of cases. So now, what is the meaning of the politicization of law? Even in a democratic company, law and regulations that's supposed to apply to all of the people, including the people in powers, can be eroded with the power of money. This trend has been going around the world, including Malaysia, where money plays a big role to escape the rules and regulations, and it is not fair to the public citizens. The politicization of law in Malaysia can be seen obviously during the election in the Sabah states in the midst of pandemic, and has caused a spike of number until 3 digits per day reported aftermath of the election. Recently, the increasement of number of cases reported daily has increased until 4 digits per day as the virus is widely spread, especially in Sabah and Selangor, where the SOP was not properly practiced during the election and has caused a chaos in the country with the number of cases, where CMCO was forced to be enforced again in the high-risk districts.
Hello everyone, I'm Li Hong, and the part I want to introduce to you is the law during the pandemic in Malaysia. Affected by COVID-19, the government has taken a series of measures, including the implementation of the Movement Control Order, or MCO for short. During the MCO period, the public are not allowed to go out at will. They need to self-quarantine at home for 14 days. They must wear masks when going out and cannot hold gatherings. During this period, the government also allocated funds to support the purchase of medical equipment, while actively disseminating knowledge about preventing COVID-19 to the public. The latest news of the epidemic is released to the public every day. It can be said that the government has played a great role in preventing COVID-19.
Hello everyone, my name is Chong. Today I want to discuss about my part, which is the contradiction life as politicians will seem to break the movement control order rules was set by the government. As we know that the Malaysia government already announced the movement control order on 18 March 2020, and the National Security Council already introduced a variety of the standard operating procedure to stop the spread of the COVID-19. Unfortunately, still a lot of people tend to
kesana, kesini, kesana, kesini,
try to challenge and break the law. These people include the VVIP of our Malaysia, politicians and ministers.
What you want? You nak gaduh dengan saya? Anytime.
Let us discuss about this. Referring to the SOP introduced by the National Security Culture, everyone who returns from a foreign country must undergo a self-quarantine for 14 days. When the Minister of the Plantation, Industries and Communities, Khairuddin Ahmad Razari, visit Turkey on 3rd of July and flew back to Malaysia on 7th July, was supposed to undergo a mandatory 14 days home quarantine till 21st of July, like the other international returnees. However, we found that the Khairuddin has attended at least a dozen programs and meetings upon arrival from Turkey, including attending the parliament from 13 July to 16 July. Although the Minister of Health already released a compound of 1,000 ringgit to the minister and he already paid the fine, but the AG Chambers has decided to not prefer any charge against the minister due to the insufficient evidence. Compared to the index case of the cluster Sivaganda was fined 12,000 and jailed for 5 months for violating home quarantine order. Both of them were actually violating home quarantine orders. But why the punishment were different? Besides that, the B. Lisa Christina, a single mother, was fined 1,000 ringgit since she was said violating the MCO when she just wanted to buy a packet of drink at a Dilmai shop and stopped to chat with 3 others before returning home. However, Nurul Hidayah Ahmad Zahid, the daughter of the president of the UMNO, Ahmad Zahid Habibie, and her husband were fined 800 ringgit each when she was found which visit a minister and a deputy minister about her non-government group. Both of them are actually violating the MCO, but the punishment are different. Lisa still unable to pay the fine and repeats it with 8 days in prison. Where is the concept of the rule of law?
Hi, hello everyone. My name is Paunisha. Today I'm going to talk about the PRN issue in Sabah. Today I'm representing my group. So let us talk about it. In this, PRN has made the COVID cases more worse. Yes, the case risen tremendously. So what are the factors that made the cases such as campaign and not following the SOPs and also so much of carelessness in the political and economic thoughts also. So moving on to the next factor. Malaysia entered the third waves because of Sabah cases every day rising, and it also set 1,240 in a one day, and also the cases keep on increasing in Sabah and some of the red zone in the area of Sabah. So the politicization in this during this pandemic has affect the sources of income to most of the group, especially in the B40 groups, and also there's no income for some of them. So yeah, moving on to my next point will be like the impact. So the impact of law and social economy has made into the a pandemic whereby like people and endeavors are attempting their good to be sustain their life. So such as including the people's source of income, the impact of daily lifestyle, and also like Malaysia has entered the third wave. The turnover of economics, it's very worse compared to the previous one and last one. So the impact for the B40 group was the worst ever on me.
And now I'm gonna talk about how government and people can work together to flatten the curve of COVID-19. First, fair treatment to all during this pandemic situation regardless their social status. People are losing their job because of movement control order, and it will literally cause contradiction if people saw others are being treated differently, such as people with high social status compared to ordinary citizens. The second one is to give financial aid or food supply to those who heavily affected, especially in rural area. For example, a packet of rice, instant noodle, and canned food. Government also can give financial aid to small business for them to continue their business or to start a business that adapt to this pandemic situation. The third one is to stay united. We as Malaysians should always help and trust each other because unity is the key. The ability to talk and overcome conflicts are not optional. It is essential factor for us to strive for better community. The fourth one would be follows the MCO rule. It is essential for us to follow the rule if we want to beat the chain of COVID-19. The fear of COVID-19 only exists in the first 3 months of this pandemic, which is not good for everyone. Many still seem to go out everywhere without following the SOP. Last but not least is to educate people. Many live in undeveloped area and they can't really understand the situation that's happening right now. Government should try to educate people more on how dangerous this COVID-19 can be and ways to prevent them, especially to elderly and children. In conclusion, we as Malaysians should learn from our mistake by stop blaming each other and start to work together to flatten the curve of COVID-19. There is nothing more important than everyone's health and well-being. Everyone have their own part and we should work together to beat the COVID-19.